Exclusive LEGO designer interviews, amazing creations, exclusive step-by-step instructions. What more could you want? Hey LEGO fans, there's nothing I enjoy more than sharing the new issue of Blocks magazine. And issue 136 is available now at blocksmag.com. As you can see, we have got the Technic Artemis space shuttle launch on the front cover of this issue. This is a set that everyone has been really tickled by, that wonderful mechanism that sees it go from the shuttle ready to launch to it launching, but going through the whole process that the actual Orion spacecraft will do. Who knows, any day now. Literally, the launch window is about to open in a few days, so it's very exciting that that's all about to go down. Of course, there's loads of other content in this issue. As well as that, we have got an absolutely stacked 116 pages in our premium LEGO magazine that we publish every single month. So if you're not familiar with Blocks, then go over to blocksmag.com, have a look at this contents page image, and you can get a sense of what's in each issue of the magazine. But going back to that wonderful cover image, we've got a feature to go with it, of course. I talked to model designer Olav Krøjgaard. Now, this guy is awesome. I first spoke to him when I wrote LEGO Star Wars, The Force of Creativity, because he worked on some LEGO Star Wars sets back in the day. And he has got stories because he's been at the LEGO group for something around 40 years. So in this interview, he talks through what he did on this model, how he got the function to work, how they created an entire new Technic element to work with the lift mechanism that had been invented for the system sets. So that's really interesting in and of itself. But then he also shares some reflections on Technic overall, like talking about when the theme switched over from bricks to beams. So it's really interesting to hear from someone with that kind of longevity with the company. And it's a really fun interview that I think you'll really enjoy. Now, we love our little features in Blocks magazines, our little 2-page things that we slot in between the big meaty interviews and so on. So we've got the top 10 video game sets here. And the thing I love about these top 10s is you can kind of read through them. They're a quick read, like they're not going to take you ages to get through, but the whole time you're reading it, you're thinking that shouldn't be number 8, that should be number 9, and that one shouldn't be number 4, that should be number 1. You can see here that we crowned the NES the winner this month, and I think that's going to be a pretty popular opinion, but to find out why, you're going to have to read those pages. We love spotlighting sets, we love debating LEGO sets, we love talking about them, but we also love the creative side of the LEGO world, and there is nowhere that celebrates that more than the Masterpiece Gallery at the top of LEGO House. Some of the world's most talented builders get the opportunity to have their models on display there. It's a great honor for people. You can tell when you go around and talk to the people whose builds are being showcased that it means an awful lot to them, that their models are there in Billund, Denmark, just a few steps from where the LEGO Group was founded 90 some years ago. And we talk to a selection of the builders whose creations are on display at the moment. There's like the widest variety you could imagine. You've got a skier in a scene from, one of the 1980s Olympics on one side, and then you've got an ice princess dress just right along from it in the next cabinet. So it's just amazing to see the different varied ways that people can use the brick, and getting the insights from those guys about how they created their different mocks is really interesting and makes that a really fun few pages of the magazine. And many of those models you could see as art. And there is one builder, Jarak, who specifically is creating something that I think you'd be really hard-pressed not to call art. So the 3 pieces that we're spotlighting in this feature all hang on the wall. They're all dimensional, but they're not like fully dimensional models. They're flat so that you can hang them. And they're really, really cool and expressive. And it's really interesting to hear from Jarak about what his process is in creating them. But then we also pull out some of the interesting techniques and part uses that are used here, so you can incorporate those things into your own creations. And if you do need a bigger helping hand than that, we also have a bunch of quick builds in this issue. So those are step-by-step instructions you can follow. We also provide the parts list. So you can build a mini Batman logo, a Demogorgon from Stranger Things, a mini DeLorean from Back to the Future, and a remake of a classic castle boat set. Someone who started life as a huge LEGO fan, but found himself at the company with the coolest job title that there probably is, which is Design Master, is Yoel Mazur. And he is the coolest guy. He's really fascinating to speak to. We first interviewed him in Blocks some years ago, and he was so good at speaking about element design that I was like, we must talk to him again. We must get his story in the magazine, because he took a fascinating route to get to the LEGO group. He worked as a skateboard designer before he was there, but he spent years working on this amazing portfolio, and he had all these ideas for LEGO elements. So he wasn't designing models to prove to the company that he had what it takes. He was trying to come up with new elements. As you would imagine, he joined the company as an element designer, and he's worked on loads of elements over the years. Some of them he's created concepts for, some of them he's actually finalized, but then he's gone on to develop concept models as well. And now he's even involved in the creation of actual models, working with the model designers to make them a reality. And just the twists and turns are fascinating. He's worked on so many different things. This is a really wide-ranging conversation, and one of my favorite building chats that we've done in the magazine. Let's face it, whether we were alive for it or not, we love the old stuff, don't we? And we're going back to 1981 for one of the spreads in this month's retro section and pulling out some of the fun highlights that were going on in the LEGO ecosystem that year. And then if you turn the page, we'll go into time cruising mode and look back at some other items from different years, including the LEGO Friends video game. Did you know about that one? Well, you can find out all about it in the magazine. And if you really do love the vintage stuff, then check out this video where I talk about the Blocks Book of Retro LEGO Sets, a volume that we've got that's entirely made up of vintage content. And just like issue 136 of Blocks magazine, you can buy it for yourself at blocksmag.com. This issue I'm really proud of. The team have done an amazing job. It's packed with great stuff, reviews, builds, interviews, all stuff that you cannot find online. So go over to the website, order a copy, and see what you think.